just the idea that God is sending people to hell and that he's not giving people an option, or that he knows about the people of other religions and other parts of the world that aren't being given the gospel, that aren't watching our podcasts. And I just think, like, first of all, we all know John 3:16, for God so loved the world, not just Christians in America, but Muslims and Hindus and Jews and people all over the planet. He loved them so much that he sent his son Jesus so that they would have everlasting life.
All right, shalom, all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, whom rule and teach well, who taught us this truth. There is a little bit more to this video, but then, she just goes completely straight off. The main point that I wanted to get from that video was, this is what the world has been, confused and tricked. Yeah, this world has been deceived, including us at one point prior to us coming into this truth. This world has been deceived because we've been told that salvation is for everyone. And I mean, it sounds good, who wouldn't want salvation? Everybody wants it. But the fact of the matter is that when you go into the book, matter of fact, we'll get that in Ezekiel. Let's get that in Ezekiel, roll of lamentations and woes. There you go. What is that? Ezekiel 2 or something? Yeah, Ezekiel 2. Ezekiel 2 and 10, it says, and he spread it before me. These are the scriptures, okay? Because Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai told Ezekiel to eat the whole roll. It says, and he spread it before me, and it was written within and without, and there was written there in lamentations and mourning and woe. And the reason that I bring this precept to us is because though the world teaches us about salvation and, God and Jesus Christ is for everybody, that's not what the scriptures say. These scriptures are lamentations, mourning, and woe, and that woe goes into destruction, man. And so what I want to aim to do here is, we'll probably just get a couple of scriptures in Isaiah, the 14th chapter, because this was going around a couple days ago. We have these, of course, we have Christians telling us that everybody can be saved, but now you even have these other Israelite camps that are coming, into I want to say they're coming across the 100% truth, but they're not in the truth. Which even I believe that's 2 Timothy. They have a form of godliness, man, where these people are ever learning but never coming to the understanding, man. And what that's going into is, basically these camps, they understand that they're Israelites, but then they skip over everything else and then they go back into the world. You have people like Deacon Hassad, talking about how these other strangers are these other nations. And so for that reason, I want to go through Isaiah the 14th chapter, and like I said, we probably won't go through the whole thing. Once the point is made, let's go ahead and get that. So let's go ahead and finish up there. And so first it starts off with Isaiah 14 when it says, for Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. So this is one of the scriptures that these other camps will tell you that, oh, look, it's the strangers, man. The strangers are these other heathens, and they're going to join themselves to Israel, and we're all going to be a part of the new covenant. Well, hold on a minute. What's the new covenant? Jeremiah 31 and 31 all the way to 33, it talks about the new covenant. Is the law written in the inward parts, but specifically it names who the new covenant is for. And that new covenant is for the Israelites, the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. The southern kingdom being the so-called blacks, and the northern kingdom being the so-called Hispanics and the Native Americans. So these promises, these end time, this end time salvation, this is only for Israel, because somebody might come across this verse and say, well, that's Isaiah 14, that's in the Old Testament. No, that's why the scripture says will yet. Matter of fact, let's see if that word yet yields anything. If not, we'll go ahead and skip it. Yet. And that word in the Hebrew is iwad. Iwad. Okay? And that means going around, still yet, continuance or persistence. Again, moreover, and why do I get this word? Because it's talking about, I like this word here again, because why, though it's a small word, it's got substance to it. Why? Because when it says again, who was the covenant made for originally? Everybody knows this. The covenant was made between the Most High and the Israelites. And that's why it says again, because in the same manner, with the same people that contract was made with initially, it's going to happen again. And then even this definition, continuance or persistence. Again, persistence, because when you go through the scriptures, who did the Most High always deal with? You know, Psalms 147, the 19th verse goes into it. Amos 3 and 2, Joel 2 and 27. Many scriptures. Matthew, the first chapter, when it talks about Yahushua coming to save his people. Well, who are his people? Yahushua comes from the tribe of Judah. Okay, but the point here is that the scripture's talking about it will yet choose Israel. And it's always good to get some context. So let's go back to Isaiah the 13th chapter to see what's happening before Isaiah the 14th chapter. This is end time prophecy. This is prophecies against Babylon, and that's Babylon the Great, aka America, judgment. All right. Okay. So this is end time prophecy, and that's why Babylon will fall unto the Medes, and that's why it's very important to get this context, because now that we understand that the context preceding Isaiah the 14th chapter is end time prophecy, now we can understand why that word yet is in there. Because after the end time prophecy mentioned in Isaiah the 13th chapter, even after all that happens, he's still going to choose Israel and Jacob, the northern and the southern kingdom, and set them in their own land. Okay? So now we have that understanding on the first part, all right? End time prophecy, and in the end of the world, the Most High still goes back and deals only with his people, all right? Which, matter of fact, we can get a quick preset on that. Let's get Psalms 50 and 5. Let's get that. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice, man. Okay, and this is what's going on now. The so-called blacks, natives, and Hispanics are the Israelites, and we are being gathered back unto our heritage. Matter of fact, let's get that in Jeremiah 50. It says, Jeremiah 50 and 4. In those days and in that time, saith Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah. Okay, that's the northern and the southern kingdom. Together going and weeping, they shall go and seek Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, their God. Okay, and that word there is possessiveness, because only the Israelites are being saved, man. Verse 5, they shall ask the way of Zion with their faces thitherward, saying, come and let us join. Come and let us join ourselves to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten. Well, hold on a minute. Now this is starting to make more sense, isn't it? Because it says right here, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. We literally just read this. And, just to bring it full circle, Jeremiah 50 is also talking, it's also a prophetic a chapter. It's talking about the destruction of Babylon, as was Isaiah the 13th, which leads into Isaiah the 14th chapter. So in the end times, the northern and the southern kingdom will go back and will want to join themselves. That's what's going on right now. We are joining ourselves. So then somebody might ask, well then, why does it say stranger? Well, let's get Hosea 1. I got it in the KJV, but just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to read it in the NLT. Okay, let's get context here. Hosea 1 verse 2. When Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai first began speaking to Israel through Hosea, he said to him, go and marry a prostitute. so that some of her children will be conceived in prostitution. This will illustrate how Israel has acted like a prostitute by turning against Yahweh by Shem Yahushai and worshiping other gods. So now we have the context. The context is, Israel went off, which nobody negates this. Even Christian scholars will tell you Israel went off. Then they went into the Assyrian captivity, then the Babylonians, then the Medo-Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, and now we are here to tell you that we're going through the revived Roman Empire. Okay, this is that fourth beast. All right, this is the toes filled with mud and clay, mud and iron. Okay, but here's the point. Okay, because somebody might say, well, it says strangers. Well, the Israelites aren't strangers. Yes, we were. This is why Hosea 1:10. Yet the time will come when Israel's people will be like the sands of the seashore. Too many. Well, matter of fact, let's start at verse 8. It says, after Gomer, this is a prostitute that Hosea had married and gave birth to Lo Ruhamah. She again became pregnant and gave birth to a second son, and Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai said, name him Lo Amai, not my people, for Israel is not my people, and I am not their God. This is when we became strangers. Okay, now we should be able to piece together why he says the stranger will join themselves, because the Most High made us strangers. Let's get Jeremiah 3:8. Okay, and I saw when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, we just read that in Hosea 1:8, I had put her away and given her a bill of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also. So, we know here Israel, when you go into the history, because the 12 tribes broke off, the northern and the southern kingdom. Okay, and Israel, when they went off, they didn't have one good king. They committed a bunch of adultery. Matter of fact, I believe it's in Hosea, might be the 8th or the 6th chapter. It talks about Ephraim is given unto idols. Okay, and which Ephraim is the head tribe of the northern kingdom. But the point here is that Jeremiah is being told by Yahweh Hashem Yahushai that just as the northern kingdom went off, the southern kingdom would also go off later, which ended up happening. The northern kingdom went off, got taken into captivity by the Assyrians, and the southern kingdom would later be taken into captivity by the Babylonians. Okay, but the point is that because we went off, we became strangers. Okay, we were sold to our enemies, and then we took on the customs of the heathens. Okay, so it says, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Now from there, matter of fact, just for edification's sake, let's get those names in Hosea. All right, just to try to be well rounded. Okay. Says so, and after Gomer had weaned Ramaha, let's get with that La Rachma, which means no mercy. Oof. See, again, Christianity teaches us that everybody gets saved, but Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai called his own people no mercy, man. And why is that important to bring up? Because how is it that the Most High gives no mercy to his people, but then is expected to give mercy to all of the other heathens that took their people into captivity? It doesn't make sense. Like, just step back from the brainwashing that America has given you, and does that make sense? Would you discipline your child very if your kid spills milk and you beat his ass because he spilled milk? Would you show mercy on a stranger that was also spilling milk or was causing your child to spill milk? The answer would be like no. if you whooped ass, and I mean, we even deal with this at the workplace, because at the workplace, you'll have people where they'll say, hey, I need you to be on time, because if you're on time, I mean, if you're not on time, then other people will think that they don't have to show up on time, and so I can, I can't show favoritism. The Most High shows favoritism, and so the point is that if you're not gonna act one way towards your son, and then act better towards a heathen man. It's just not gonna happen. Okay, so the word here is la'a imai, la'a imai, and that means not my people. Okay, so that was the first son that Gomer had. Right. So let's go back to Isaiah the 14th chapter here, and like I said, this video is not going to be too long. I just really wanted to hone in on this one scripture. It says, let's get the second part. It says, and they shall cleave. Oh, no. And the strangers. Let's get that, okay? Let's get that. Because it says strangers, and, double honors to the elders and the apostles, because our elders and our apostles on down have taught us to go into these words, okay? Now, the word stranger in Isaiah 14 and 1 is gar, which gar means a sojourner. Okay? So, this is going to prove also that those strangers are Israelites. Okay? And so, what is the definition? It says a temporary inhabitant, a newcomer lacking inherited rights. Okay, and so what are these newcomers? These are the Israelite foreigners that went off after we were given the bill of divorce. Unless you were born in this 100% truth, you are an Israelite foreigner, because at one point you were calling upon other gods, right? Which, the scriptures talk about Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai winking at our ignorance. So that's fine. But the point is that at one point we were a sojourner. Right now we are a sojourner now, because we're not in our land. But the point is that lacking inherited rights. And matter of fact, Ephesians to the Commonwealth. Yeah, Ephesians, Commonwealth of Israel. Yeah, let's get that. Because now, though we went off, now we have been brought back, man. Though we are still strangers, we have been brought back because of what Yahweh Shai did for us. There's Ephesians 2 and 12. It says that at that time you were without Hamashiach. I just went into that. Being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of the promise, having no hope and without God in the world. This was us. Okay? We were, we were Israelite foreigners, and we are Israelite foreigners. But when I say we didn't know who we were. Okay? Matter of fact, and just to bring this full circle, because check out this definition: a newcomer lacking inherited rights. And we just read Ephesians 2 and 12. Now, check this out. Check out what happened, okay? Let's go from here. Gar, okay? Let's not forget that word gar. But now let's go from here, and let's get Ephesians 2. And what did he say? Having abolished together, but fellow sins, right? Not foreigners, but Hack says. Salakia 2 and 12. Salakia 2 and 12. That at that time, being aliens from the commonwealth. All right, let's get here. Being aliens right here. Apollo trio, Apollo trio, to be shut out from one's fellowship, to alienate, to estrange, strangers. We are those strangers. Let's get some more words here. Being aliens from the commonwealth, politia, the state or commonwealth. We had no citizenship. We had no rights of a citizen, right? But the hope has been restored. It says, "Are you now, therefore, ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and with the household of the Most High." So from here, I want to go back here, okay, because we brought that up because even in Ephesians, it calls us strangers, okay? It calls the Israelites strangers, but now we've been brought back together. But going back to that word, going back to that word, gar, All right, going back to that word gar, I want to now go, what was it, 43 and 48? Okay, yeah. Now, going back to that word gar, okay, because this is why we go into the words. When you're reading the scriptures, context is very important, okay? And as has been taught by the elders and the apostles, man, when you see the word gar mentioned, 98% of the time, 98% of the time, that word gar is talking about an Israelite foreigner. There's another word for stranger, and that word is nakar. Now, nakar, 98, 95% of the time, nakar is talking about an actual heathen. Now, there's also thawab, Thawabash, I believe it's Thawabash, but that's also talking about other strangers, okay? But just for the sake of simplicity, I want to bring up an example of these two words being used in the same chapter because the scriptures don't lie and the scriptures are complete, and through context we can piece them together if Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is dealing with you. So this is Exodus 12. And we're going to get verse 43, and then we're going to jump down to verse 48. It says, And Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, said unto Moses and Aaron, This is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. Okay, so that seems pretty clear, okay? So now I want to jump down to verse 48. Because here, without having the understanding and the context and the words, you would think that the scriptures are contradicting themselves, but no, we know that the scriptures are inspired by Yahweh Shemel Shai. Verse 48, And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover to thee, to Yahweh Shemel Shai, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. So hold on a minute. In verse 43, we just read, no stranger shall eat thereof. But then in verse 48, it says that the stranger can eat. So is there a contradiction? The answer is no. All right, because when you go into the words, it makes it very clear. When you go into verse 43, when it talks about the stranger cannot eat, that word is nakar. Oh, Salakia, man, damn carpenter bees. Oh, motherfucker. Salakia. You know, you try to ignore these carpenter bees, man, but sometimes they get in your face, man, and you just got to try to smack them. But anyways, the Salakia, the word is nakar, and that word is a foreign, alien, foreignness, that which is, so just an alien, a foreigner. Okay, so heathendom, right here, heathendom. Check out that word right there. So the word heathen, the word stranger that can't eat in verse 43 is talking about those of the other nations. So now let's go to verse 8 because verse 48, because verse 48, this is the stranger that can eat. And check out, wouldn't you know, man, the water Yahweh Shemel Shai, double honor to the elders and the apostles because they taught us this. Wouldn't you know that the stranger that is allowed to eat is also the word gar? And isn't this the same gar that we just read in Isaiah, the 14th chapter? That's why, again, context and the words, man. For Yahweh Shemel Shai will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel, even in the end times, and set them in their own land, okay? We're not going to be set in the land by no Balfour declaration, okay? Yahweh Hashem Shai is going to set us in our own land, man. All right, everyone's going to see it happen. And also, Yahweh Hashem Shai is going to set the 12 tribes in their own land, Jacob and Israel, not just the so-called Jewish people. That's only one tribe. What about the other tribes? Okay? It says, and the stranger shall be joined with them. We already established that the stranger is Gar, or Israelites that were foreigners. Why? Because the Most High divorced us because we went off and started going after the other idols. Okay? But now we're being joined back together. All right? and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob, going back to our ways, man. Matter of fact, let's get that. One shall surname himself. One shall surname himself. Yeah, I haven't pulled this one in a minute. Isaiah 44:5. One shall say, I am Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob. This is us going back to the house of Jacob, going back to the old ways, all right? And another shall subscribe with his hand unto Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, and surname himself by the name of Israel. This is us changing who we are, man. Okay? Yet, Isaiah 44:1, yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Jacob is Israel. So is it talking about the same people? Yes and no. It's talking about the northern and the southern kingdom. And wouldn't you know, that's exactly how this is written in Isaiah the 14th chapter, Jacob and Israel. You see how the scriptures flow beautifully when you have the perfect understanding, man. The Wadiyah Bashim Yahushai. I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it there. I'm gonna go ahead and stop it there. The point has been made. Hopefully this has been edifying, and until the next one, Shalom.